Hey there. Today we're going to talk about Giallos. Uh, basically, I was asked tonight by Z Merrill for suggestions on some Giallos you could watch, kind of to get into the into the whole genre. Now, Giallo, of course, is Italian. It's Italian for yellow, and the reason they're called that is because the thriller books in Italy are known for their yellow covers, and that's where the name comes from. Now, Mario Bava was known for being one of the forerunners of this. Of course, A Bay of Blood, like you've seen there, is one of them. But another one would be Blood and Black Lace, and that's more of the Giallo as it would become. You've got the Black Glove Killer, the Extravagant Deaths, and one of the neat things about Giallos, and you'll notice this when you start to get into them, you start to watch them, is that you've got people that don't speak English most of the time, or speak kind of a broken English, writing scripts for that the in English in a way that the think English speaking people talk. It would be kind of like if I learned just enough Japanese to get by, and try and make a, a Japanese like a chopsaki type film. It comes off in kind of a weird, almost unique type of language. Giallo has unique language all of its own, and you kind of get used to it after a while when people start saying words and phrases that kind of don't make a lot of sense, but you kind of get into it. It gets kind of an almost like different feel all its own. But let's get into some of the Giallos that I think you should watch. And we're going to start with Argento. Originally, I was going to go with Blood and Black Lace. It is a little slow. It's a very well shot Giallo. Mario Bava does it, and for me, he's a master. But if you really want to get into like some of the true Giallos that made people fans and got it started, then you're probably going to want to start with guys like Argento. And Dario Argento is famous for his early films, his Giallos. Don't think of the Dario Argento that made Dracula 3D, because that's pretty horrible. But early Argento was genius. And the first film that he made was Giallo, actually. Argento, by the way, was a movie critic that became a famous director, because basically he hung around a lot of famous directors and it rubbed off brilliantly. And that would be The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. I love this film. This is an import, and it's not in the right aspect ratio, but still a great film. It's not that fast moving as compared to some other Giallos. And the Giallos, you're always going to see the Black Glove Killer. Usually it's going to be a knife type of weapon, and it's just basically somebody will see something and they'll not realize how important what they've seen is, or not realize what they've seen till the end. So it's kind of a mystery type thing, slasher mystery. It's very much in the slasher genre. So Birth Crystal Plumage is a great one to start out with. The most famous one I don't have here, and that's called Deep Red or Profondo Rosso, and that's done by Dario Argento as well. His is probably his most famous Giallo, and it's about a man by the name of David Hemming. The actor, he's walking home, and he sees something in an upstairs window, and he sees a murder. But now when he goes up to basically to check it out, something catches his eye, and for the rest of the film, he doesn't quite know what it is. And there's some vicious murders, there's some very creepy scenes, and there's a creepy doll. Few of these Giallos tend to go towards the dolls, or like smaller people in some of them. I noticed that. That'd be a running theme. Another great one. This one was given me by a great YouTuber, by the way, by the name of Falliar517. And Fulci makes Giallos, but his Giallos are more they're bloodier, and they have a lot more nudity usually in them, because that's the type of filmmaker he is. Kind of like a Franco, but I like him better than Franco personally. But New York Ripper. This one here is this cool little film. It's about a killer that talks like Donald Duck. That's not a lie or a joke. He talks like Donald Duck, and that's actually a very important plot point. Apparently, Fulci was obsessed with Donald Duck, and used the duck a reference in a few of his films. But New York Ripper is the one where he actually had the killer actually talking like Donald, and I'm surprised Disney never got on that one, but you know, I enjoyed it. My favorite Giallo of all time isn't by Fulci or Dario Argento. My favorite is actually Torso. And Torso is a really cool film. This was done by Sergio Martino. He made a nice few Giallos back in the day. He made a lot of kind of different films, but of course under different names, because a lot of these Italian directors use different names to make their films get over in America. And this one here is really good. It stars Susie Kendall, and Susie Kendall was a girl that was famous for the Giallos that she was in. This has a great last 20 to 25 minutes. It's really suspenseful. There was like kind of a tagline, like the only thing scarier than the first 60 minutes is the last 20 or something like that. I just remember that watching this one here. It's an incredible film. You know, it's another one you guess the killer one. Basically, you got Kendall here during a rash of murders of women. She goes up to a cabin at the last minute that the girls have already gone up to, and not to give too much away, but she gets stuck for almost the entirety of the last third act of the film with the killer, who may or may not know that she's there. It's an incredible film. I strongly, highly recommend this film, and it's one to really check out. Next up is my favorite Argento Giallo, and although Deep Red is his most popular one, my favorite is Tenebrae. Tenebrae is bloody, it's vicious. It has as always, you usually have one American actor in there. This time it's John Saxon, who most famous for nowadays, I guess, for Nightmare on Elm Street and playing cops and different stuff. And the guy that buried the guy on CSI, Quentin Tarantino episode. But Tenebrae is actually a really fun Giallo. It's about a mystery writer who's written this mystery novel, and the people around him are getting killed in the ways that they were killed in the novel, and they're finding like pages from the novel in the mouths of the victims. So he's trying to kind of figure out who did it, if he's being set up, and you kind of don't know what's going on here for a bit. It's really well done. I like the way this one was shot, and I love watching this one with people because so many people don't guess the ending, and there's a real cool kind of a jump thing at the end that is really worth checking into. This was originally available only in North America under the title Unsane, and if you see it under the title Unsane, pass that one up, because that means it's a cut copy. You want to get it under the name Tenebrae, which is a great film. This is an Arrow video release, by the way. It's from England. Next up is Terror at the Opera. This is a more modern Argento slasher. Really cool stuff. He is working with Sergio Stavoletti, who is pretty much the master of the gore effects in Italy. He's the I guess you could say the Tom Savini of Italy. And there's some great effects in here. Of course, what this is showing here is that the killer actually ties the girl up in one scene during the movie and puts needles by her eyes so she can't close her eyes, and she has to watch him kill somebody close to her. We get a really cool scene with a gun and an eye hole and a door. Enough said. You just got to see that. It's pretty incredible. Really enjoyed that one. Next up is a very different one, and it was clouded up by my cats. But Steinau syndrome. Steinau syndrome, of course, is actually based on a real thing, where a person cannot go into like an art museum because he can be overcome by the colors and the art. And it's basically this is about a serial rapist that's a rapist killer that's going around like killing these girls. And Asia Argento, who was actually Dario Argento's daughter, it plays the lead in this, and she's attacked by the killer, but she manages to live. Later on, she faces the killer and seemingly kills him, but the murders are still happening even after he's dead. Or is he dead? You gotta watch the movie to find out, and it's a nice little ride. This is probably the last really good one he did. Some people aren't big fans of this one, but I actually am. He did one after this called The Card Player, which I can't recommend. It's not a great film. It's a quirky thing, but Sleepless I can recommend. It's a fun film, not one of his best, but as far as these films go, as far as Giallos go, it's probably his last kind of like really good one. It has some unique aspects to it that I would recommend and enjoy, that you might enjoy. So one other thing is that you can actually get some of these. Some of these here are a little more expensive, but if you just want to get a start and you want to see what type of Giallo and director that you might be into, well, there were 3 very cheap sets that came out, and if you can still grab them, I highly recommend it. And they were by Popflix, and they came out for fairly cheap. There was the Killers on the Loose collection, and it has the Red Queen kills 7 times, which is a very famous one. The Fifth Chord, 7 Notes in Black, which is also otherwise known as the Psychic, and Don't Torture Duckling, which is was by Fulci actually. 7 Notes in Black is the Psychic, that's by Fulci, and Don't Torture Duckling. See, you got it again. Here he is being talking about ducks. It's in here as well, and they're 2 disc sets. I have not watched all of these to know if these are the uncut versions, totally or not. But for as cheap as these were, they're really worth checking out. Next up is this Case of the Bly Hours, which I do have on Anchor Bay label. Your vice is a locked room, and only I have the key. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The whole broken English thing. Death Laid an Egg, and The Dark is Death's Friend. And checking out some of these are pretty cool. You get some like the directors. Lucio Cosi is another director that was kind of like not as good as the others, but he did do some pretty decent stuff. And Your Vice is Locked Room, and Only I Have the Keys, one I haven't seen in a long time, but it is by Sergio Martino, who made Torso, which is my favorite. And the next one has some Argento stuff on it. Probably cut, but still worth checking out. And that's which has Deep Red. Yeah, it's definitely a cut version of Deep Red. The Cat o' Nine Tails, which is another one done by him. 7 Bloodstained Orchids, which is by Bruno Lanzo, another famous Italian director. And Short Night of Glass Dolls, which is by another famous Italian director by the name Aldo Alato. Now, the Cat o' Nine Tails, and I should mention that. See, when Argento started, he made 3 films. He made The Birth Crystal Plumage, The Four Flies in Grey Velvet, and The Cat o' Nine Tails. And they're considered his animal trilogy. There are 3 Giallos that are basically named animal-wise. And a lot of Giallos, kind of like you see Halloween, and they got a lot of knockoffs, and Friday 13th got knockoffs. This one, in a way, got a lot of knockoffs in its own way. I think, in a way, you could probably consider the movie Pieces kind of a Giallo. Actually, I would consider Pieces Giallo, and it's a very fun, cheesy one, but it's kind of on the slasher side, so it can actually be a nice introduction in that way. And again, it has hilarious scenes, especially one where the killer walks into the elevator, just very casual, hiding behind him a chainsaw. Yes, he tries to casually walk into an elevator, hiding a chainsaw behind his back. Giallo is a very fun genre. The first one or 2 that you may not be your type, but just test around for some different ones. Check on Netflix, the Redbox some, or just go out and buy some of those cheap collections and just check them out and see which ones that you like the most. Because just like a lot of genres and even subgenres, they splinter off in different directions in different ways with different directors. Some are faster than others. Some have a lot more sex than others. Giallo is a very kind of like a sexy genre. You're going to get a lot of nudity in some of these. A lot of these have like kind of mystery to them, and I really enjoy. I've got to do another video on these, actually, like get really in depth. But those are some of the Giallos that I enjoy, and I can say, starting out, those are ones to look for. Look for Martino. Look for Dario Argento. Look for Lucio Fulci. Look for and look for Bava. Give Bay of Blood another chance. I really didn't do it for you. That may not be that style one for you, but Blood and Black Lace may actually be something that you might like. But starting out, I always tell people to start out with something like a Tenebrae or Torso. I find them to be extremely excellent. But Pieces, I never even thought about Pieces before, but in a way, it is a kind of a Giallo film. Some of them can be pretty downbeat, and I try to stick away from those most of the time.
The violence against women.
My better half doesn't like the fact that they're very violent, and a lot of times against females, but I kind of don't see it that way. But for me right now, my time is up, and it is definitely time for tea.